What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this has actually been highly requested for like 3 months now, and it was like I need to do the damn video, you know. So I picked out my 10 favorites because I guess I'm just under the assumption that everybody knew what my top 10 were. So shame on me, because all the time in my live streams I get asked about my 3 favorites and my 5 favorites. So I guess that's a repetitive answer. But my overall top 10 from Zaharoff. What are my 10 favorites? I doubt the top 2 are going to surprise anybody, but the rest of the order might. So here we go. There's a link down in the description. If you use the link, you can save 10%. It is an affiliate link. I do make a small commission if you make a purchase. You can get samples of everything except for one fragrance on this list because it is discontinued. But, yep, here's my 10 favorites from Zaharoff in order. Stay tuned. So I do have to exclude my 2 fragrances. Business Over Pleasure and Evening Mystique, my 2 collaboration fragrances with Zaharoff. This was the initial first fragrance. Very office safe, professional settings, fresh iris, creamy, smoky, a little bit of peppered spice from Citrine pepper. My baby right here. And then the Evolution, the flanker. Evening Mystique, also known as Business Over Pleasure Act 2 as a subtitle to this one. Still has the core DNA of the iris, but this is more resinous, smoky, a little green, much more aromatic, more evening appropriate, a bit more mysterious, has more orientals to it. A slightly darker fragrance, if you will. So I figured I'd do a quick little honorable mention because obviously it's just next level bias to have my own fragrances in the 10. So had to mention them real quick. So with the first one, with number 10, I truly believe this is the most versatile, well-rounded fragrance in the Signature collection from Zaharoff. This is the one I recommend to start with if you want the safest play, what I believe is the safest play. I would say Signature Royale X. The happy medium between Royale and Royale Triple X. Because here you still get some musk, but it's not real animalistic and dark. It's not like a cumin type of smell. There's no funkiness to this. It's a very clean, citrus, woody, clean musk type of fragrance. This one has next level sillage though. This stuff lingers, hangs in the air. A rich scent bubble will surround you. It's not a screamer in projection, but it is a strong aroma that's just circling around you. In a well-circulated area, a lot of people are going to smell you with this one. And it's very dapper and professional at the same time, but it can also be very casual. It kind of falls somewhere in between. It's actually quite lovely. There's an elegance to it. There's a hefty masculinity to it, but there's also a nice approachable nature to this profile. Very long-lasting, of course. This is like 26%. If I remember correctly, in oil concentration. I think it's the best one to start with. So number 10 is Signature Royale X. At the number 9 spot, I'm traditionally not a big gourmand guy, and I would call this very much like an amber gourmand. It's kind of the way I would go about it, because very sticky, resinous amber because of the raw honey, cinnamon sticks. There's a slight lactonic feel. You get hazelnut. There's delicious notes here, but Signature Aurum. Very cool weather appropriate. That's why there's not a huge dent. This came out at the very beginning of the year. I think this is better for the cooler weather, but man, if you want one of the best honey fragrances ever made, you should really try this. Raw honeycomb absolute. Like I said, the cinnamon bark here as it's listed smells like cinnamon sticks. Like stirring honey with cinnamon sticks, as weird as that sounds. I don't get tons of hazelnut and like the creaminess, the coconut milk, I believe is what it is, the lactonic feel. I don't get a ton of that stuff. There's a slight creamy nature, but it's more syrupy because of the honey, and the amber is very resinous, warm, and because of the combination with the honey, very, very sticky. Crazy sillage with this one as well. It lingers, hangs in the air. People are going to smell you with this one. Perfectly unisex because it's a delicious gourmand food-like fragrance. So not for everybody. If you're into gourmands, obviously this just becomes a must-try for you. But if you like honey fragrances, in my opinion, one of the greatest ever made. Number 9, Signature Aurum. Okay, number 8. This is the one I was saying you can't get a sample. If you want a bottle, you got to go do swaps, beg people to sell you one of theirs, hit the Facebook groups, overpay on eBay from ridiculous resellers, and so on. But my main man, Justin Copeland, I go back and forth from the second round of Zed Creators on, do I like my fragrance more or Justin's fragrance more? Because I really, really like gathering these 10. The one that I sprayed on my hand was Second Soul. I don't wear it all that much. I just hold it in such high regard. And the reason being, I don't know, it's because I hold the man in such high regard. I think maybe that plays a role into it, but such a great piece of storytelling here with it ended up being like a quadruple entendre with the meaning behind Second Soul. It's the second fragrance. It's an evolution of Brass and Soul. It represents his discovery of, this second soul in his life with Grace. The second set that evening, because he's a professional trumpet player. The second set of that gig that night, because Brass and Soul was the first set. Like, it just goes on and on. And then the quadruple entendre, it's a mirror. You, the connection with you, is the fourth entendre for the second soul. It's a beautiful story. It really is. It's a beautiful piece of storytelling. But that's not what's going to captivate you. It's cool. It's great if you're in a perfumery. Like I said, great piece of storytelling. But this is special. So if you like spicy aromatics, you'll smell Brass and Soul. If you ever tried the original, you'll smell Brass and Soul in this one. But it's an evolution. It's a true flanker because it takes a turn. There is this Rum on the Rocks accord that gives this nice boozy feel. There's a smoky tobacco element to this that's not overdone. I do get more of the smokiness than the earthiness. But the biggest outlier for me that makes it special is this fuzzy, musky suede accord with the smoke that I get for the majority of this fragrance. It's dark, it's rich, it's masculine, but it still has this strong aromatic nature and light freshness to make it very approachable. But God, it's got crazy longevity and great sillage. There's another one that lingers, hangs in the air. This is special. I just love the way this fragrance smells. This really suits my personality in cooler weather and evenings as well. Like, this is something that really speaks to me, that I really gravitate to. I think him and Vincent, I can never say his perfumer's name correct, Kaczynski, I screwed that up. I know I just mispronounced it. My apologies. But together, they created magic here, as I feel myself and Claude Deer did with Evening Mystique. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't, as did Andrea and Anthony and their perfumer. As a whole, the project was just magnificent both rounds. But there's something really special to me about Second Soul that cracks this top 10. I thought about completely excluding anything Zed Creators, but, obviously I wanted to keep my 2 out of the top 10, but of the 6, if I just take myself out of it, Second Soul might be the best of the 6. I don't care how many of you love the Siren. That's great. The Siren's a masterpiece. I get that. But for my taste, because everybody goes, oh, the Siren. I get it. You love the Siren. Most of you do. I love the Siren too. The Siren's fantastic. But for my personality, Second Soul's that one. That's why it's in the top 10. If you ever get an opportunity to try this, if anything about the way I described it sounds enticing, you really should. You'll probably love it. Justin Copeland, Stay Fresh Productions, and Zaharoff, Second Soul. Number 7. You want some fun for the summer? You want CoCoLoCo? CoCoLoCo. I remember the advertisement. It sticks with me. CoCoLoCo. I love it. Bowl of fruits, and there's vibrance and zest and vigor provided because the way the cardamom comes across with the red currant, the pineapple. I believe there's some apple in here as well. Variety of fruits, and you get some vanilla, you get some blonde woods, a little bit of musk, coconutty aspect to this one. It's just so tropical and fun. There's a density to this, though. You can spray too much of this in the heat, I gotta say. It'll get to really pumping off the skin. It's a tropical fragrance, but it's got some backbone. So be mindful if you're gonna spray this one in crazy humidity. You might suffocate yourself a little bit. This stuff gets really strong really fast in high humidity. But man, what a fun fragrance. It was intended to be the storytelling behind Carnival in Rio de Janeiro. All the vibrant colors. They have different color caps for every bottle. Between the 2 runs or 3 runs or whatever it is, there's like a dozen different color caps and different color labels and 4 different box arts, and just George really had fun with the presentation of this one because it was a fun storytelling profile. So he wanted to have a fun storytelling, bright and vibrant packaging, and he did that. There's a lot going on. There's so much variety because the scent smells like there's just so much variety to it. It's such a great offering for the summertime. It really is. Get a sample and try this one. If anything I said sounds enticing on any of these, really, I shouldn't have to say this on every fragrance. Just click the link, get yourself a sample. They're 3 ml spray samples. They're $7. You'll save 70 cents with the 10% off. Get you some samples. Check them out. This is fun for the summer. CoCoLoCo. You know, it's crazy to me that this fell to 6 when I was ranking them. I'm like, this used to be like my number 3. There was a time when it was my number 1. When it was the newest release, it was like, this is the one. This is the best fragrance. One of the ones I've worn the most, I gotta say, when it comes to well-rounded tobaccos, Signature Tobacco is one of the best. The dents don't lie, you know? It's a great fragrance. I do believe you can pull this one off in the summer if you're mindful of the sprays in your setting. If you could be outdoors in the humidity all day, not a good idea, but it's macerated so well over time. It's so rich. So this kind of is almost like a greatest hits tobacco fragrance. What do I mean by that exactly? Some of you have heard me say this and know where I'm going with this. But if you're new to it, think of all the different varieties of really good tobacco fragrances out there. Your sweet tobaccos, your boozy tobaccos, your woody tobaccos, your smoky tobaccos, your earthy tobaccos, your leafy aromatic tobaccos, your spicy tobaccos. You get a little bit of all of that. If you look at this note breakdown, there's layers to this fragrance. Everybody's going to have a different experience. You might get more of a spicy, boozy tobacco. You might get more of a woody, sweet tobacco. You might get loads of the leafy kind of green element to the tobacco. It's complex. It's a diverse collection of notes. Claude blended and balanced this one to where I do believe it's one of the more well-composed tobacco fragrances ever created. It's beautifully done. It's very strong without being overdone. I know some people it's a beast. Some people it's maybe a bit more moderate. It's a skin chemistry and you know, olfactive perception kind of thing. Everybody's going to be different, but for me, I find it to be extremely long lasting, and I would put it, you know, moderate to heavy in the projection and moderate in the sillage range, because this one, it'll really pump off the skin. You know, you don't need a ton of sprays. You can be overzealous and start going 7, 8, 9 sprays, and it's kind of a lot. But typically 3 to 5 sprays will get the job done really well. With this one, 5 to 7 if you really want to show out, and like I said, 7 plus. You're being a bit overzealous. I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't done 10 or 11 sprays of this and was like, damn, I shouldn't have sprayed that much, but I smell amazing. That's the case here. This is one of the top 3 tobacco fragrances I've ever smelled in this collection. Easily, hands down. This is up there with stuff like Royal Bourbon from Plume Impression and Triumph of Bacchus Extrait. It's my 3 favorite tobaccos right here with this one. Zaharoff Signature Tobacco. Now, lower wearability, but all the more impressive. This is a true wow factor statement maker. This is probably the biggest statement maker, I think, in the collection. And the reason it's only at 5 instead of 1 is because of the wearability factor. This is, I've literally, speaking of Justin, twice, 2 days in a row, been fussed by that man for wearing 3 sprays because this is so strong. It's that, like, I don't do more than 3 sprays. I can't. It's impressive how strong this fragrance is. It's cool weather only. Cool to cold, like really cold. Signature leather tobacco. This black color, this black leather color. Yeah, that color, that juice. Fitting. So earthy, smoky, taric. The plum in the top doesn't make it all that fruity and vibrant and juicy. It balances off some of this dense, warm, smoky, dark smoke. I mean, the birch tar is heavy here. Dark, smoky, resinous, earthy, leathery, just whew, holy shit, this stuff's crazy. So uber masculine, show-stopping kind of stuff. You got somewhere to go where you're dressed to impress, and you want a fragrance that is a true cherry on top to you feeling like you got it going on. A real confidence booster, a confident human being is going to wear this fragrance, because if you're not the most confident of fellows, this one will wear you. Don't let your fragrance wear you. wear the right fragrance for your personality. And if you're not necessarily the loud type like me, but you know, very confident in the way you conduct yourself and carry yourself, you're very assertive and sure of yourself, this is the kind of fragrance you're going to want for special events and stuff like that. It's a step out, show stopping kind of fragrance. It's impressive. People are going to smell you. It's a topic of conversation type of thing. This isn't for the introverts that don't really want to have too many discussions with strangers and stuff. You kind of just want to blend in the crowd. This might not be the fragrance for you. But if you're the type that likes to stand out, wants to stand out, don't mind standing out, potentially could be the center of attention for a multitude of different reasons, and your fragrance being one of them, this is a fragrance you should absolutely get on your skin and smell, because you're probably going to end up wanting a bottle if you fit that description. It's Leather Tabac. I have no qualms in saying this is the best opening to date of all the fragrances Claude Deer has created for the House of Zaharoff. And this includes other perfumers, because the only perfumers to create anything with a Zaharoff label on it that it is in the Z Creator line. Because Claude created both of mine, but Justin and Andrea had two different perfumers through mine. They didn't have Claude. They weren't assigned Claude. Claude was assigned based on what I was looking to do, because they felt he was the best to bring to life what I was looking to do. Point being, Claude Deer has created all of the house releases for George Zaharoff, and I think when it comes to openings, this is his best work. It is signature Citrine. This is a sweet orange, limey clementine, fresh green, resinous, smoky amber fragrance. Like, there's a warm oriental, smoky, resinous tone to a bright, believable, photorealistic citrus green tone. Think Eau d'Orange from Hermes, for example, like kind of in that vein kind of fragrance. Profile, like just that rindy, fresh, but this has the sweet orange going with it as well. So not the same, but like of that style, of that vein, not the same profile, but that's the closest thing I could relate it to kind of paint a picture for you. I know not everybody's tried that either, but this is pure magic in the opening, not a performance monster. You'll have seen people on the internet complain about performance early on when it first came out, and then over time, you'll see people that begged for it to come back because it was amazing and they gave it more of a chance. So a little maceration went a long way with this one, and people understanding anosmia. Again, skin chemistry thing, not everybody gets good performance. Some people it's weak. It's legitimately weak for some. And then if you're George Zaharoff, it's crazy to me. This is an absolute stone cold killer of sillage on George Zaharoff. I can tell you firsthand, I've smelled this fragrance on him probably 24 times over the years. And it's you swear he bathed in it. He's like, no, I got like 8 sprays on, which is a lot, but for a fresh fragrance, not really. Crazy sillage on George. I've never smelled it stronger on another human than actually George Zaharoff himself. But for me, what I can get every bit of 6 to 8 hours in longevity, high heat or not, indoors in the climate control. The difference is when I want some good sillage and projection, body temperature's got to raise. That's my own personal experience. Body temperature's got to go up, or it's going to be more of a skin scent after about 45 minutes or so. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for a performance monster, this ain't going to be it. Unless you're putting it in the right setting, then it'll start pumping off the skin. This is great if you're going to be outdoors. It's phenomenal. Indoors, temper your expectations on crazy projection. This one really shines when you heat it up, but it's one of the best openings ever. It smells great from start to finish, but the opening's magic. Zaharoff Signature Citrine. Number 3 is probably the second I would put behind Leather Tabac in show-stopping capabilities. It's a warm, spicy, resinous rose fragrance. It's one of the newer releases and one of the most artistic bottle designs of all time. This is the 4-ounce bottle of Signature Black Rose. Look at that plate. My God. Heavier fragrance. Definitely not something to wear this time of year. You're not going to see me spraying this one in the humidity. Very, very spicy. The pepper here is the star. Pepper, amber, rich rose, dense woods. Very, very super masculine for a rose fragrance. Dark. Black rose. Dark, dark rose. But not oud rose kind of stuff here. The woodiness here is warm. It's dense. It adds a heft to it, but there's no like funk and stuff like that. I believe the Chinese oud that Claude likes to use in George's fragrances, I believe, is present here, as is with rosé, but they don't really have a funk. It's more of a dry, warm wood smell, this particular Chinese oud that Claude likes to use. And just another one, Sillage Monster. Strong projection, though. This one, you gotta be kind of mindful of the sprays if you don't want to overwhelm, because this one is a kind of a beast. So keep that in mind. There's another one, super impressive. You gotta like rose, though. It is centered around rose. The beauty is not just in the bottle, it's also the juice. Zaharoff Signature Black Rose. I still can't believe this is my number 2. It blows my mind that it was able to be unseated, because for years this has been my favorite from Zaharoff. It's still one of my 5 favorite fragrances in my collection. So 2 of my 5 favorite fragrances and all the stuff I have are Zaharoff signature fragrances, because they just really speak to me. This is such a hit in this household. My wife loves wearing it too. It's more of a sweet rose on her, but it's a very smoky rose on me. Signature Rosé, a true work of art. I will argue with anyone and everyone until you want to stop talking about how good this is, because I won't. I'm relentless when it comes to this fragrance. I will argue you down about how good this is, even though it's an opinionated thing. I just feel that strongly about this. Pure magic when it comes to rose. This made me a believer in rose. I even have a frickin' rose tattooed on my hand. I'm so into rose because of this. So for some, it's very sweet. I can tell you on Justin, for example, the woody nature of the oud and the sweetness of that vanilla bean and sugar cane comes out a good bit on him, as well as on my wife. I get a little bit of that, but I get more of the resin, the frankincense. Frankincense shines. It really pops off my skin. It's just something about my skin chemistry with smoky notes. Really shines off of me. Magic. You get fresh rose. You get dense, thick, jammy rose, because you got Turkish rose. You got peony that adds to that Turkish rose freshness. But you have the Bulgarian rose as well that adds a deeper, thicker rose smell. And again, you have that Chinese oud that adds that warm, dry woodiness without giving any funk. It's not a oud rose profile like you would think. It's not. It's more of an incense. It's a rose incense. That's actually what it was created to be. There's a story behind this. And for me, it's like glue on the skin. So it'll calm down after several hours and then doesn't go anywhere. If some water happens to hit it, or you get some heat activation going where your body temperature goes up, this stuff starts pumping like you just sprayed it again. If it's not properly scrubbed off in the shower the next morning, you go do your morning cardio, start smelling rosé again like you just sprayed it. Happened many times. Pure magic. There's only one other fragrance from Zaharoff, which is the number 1 that I would recommend to sample more. I think you should try this. Signature Rosé. And one of the greatest fragrances of all time. To me, for my taste, it's a true 10 out of 10. I've only given 10 out of 10 to 2 fragrances, Roger Parfums Solar Blue and Zaharoff Signature Seraphim Blue, both niche blues. Had this for less than 2 months, and it's got the kind of dent for fragrances I've had for years. Okay? Because I have thousands of fragrances, and I always have new stuff coming. Almost knocked that over. I'm always testing new things. So to sit on a fragrance and just keep going back to it and back to it and back to it, I couldn't tell you the last time I had what would even come close to being considered a signature scent, because I wear this so often that kind of can be in many ways. It really speaks to me. It's almost like, shout out to RXL, he even said it in his review, that it's almost like it would have been my 3rd fragrance. Totally agree with you, Rick. I would have loved to have created this. This is something I didn't create this. I had nothing to do with the creation of the profile. I was part of the testing all throughout the process. So naturally, I've been in love with this fragrance long before you guys knew it existed. I've been waiting on this to come out. I couldn't wait to do this review and tell you guys 10 ways to Sunday how much I love this. And I typically don't rate George's fragrances, but I just had to let you guys know it's like perfect for me. Wintergreen, minty, fresh, crisp from some apple. You get greens and aromatics in the top. You get a salted sea breeze aquatic tone from seaweed and sea notes. And it's just like a mistiness in the air. It's not like knee deep in the ocean kind of aquatic. It's not that level of watery. Some report they get a lot of coconut here. I get a little bit of creaminess from the coconut. I don't get a hefty coconut smell like I do with something like CoCoLoCo, where I get plenty of coconut here. Not even close to the same level of coconut that I get here. Way less here. But the main thing I do get is the nice powdery tone of the Florentine Iris here. And then I get a nice muskiness. There's no real woody nuances to this one. So a lot of the orientals and woods of the signature DNA is omitted here. You don't have a lot of the resins and stuff like that, but you have the aromatics, the greens, and it's introduced aquatic notes for the first time into the fold for this DNA. Long-lasting light blue is kind of how I look at it, because it's got that kind of freshness. And then I forgot to mention the centrally focused note here being eucalyptus, which is where that minty green tone comes from. This is a work of art for me, year-round, not just summertime. Obviously, it's better suited for warm spring, hot summer, but year-round if you want fresh. It's a fresh blue with some green elements that I just love. Floral tones. Iris is my favorite note. It's perfect. For me, it's absolutely perfect. My number one, Zaharoff Signature Seraphim Blue. Now, I know for a top 10, this was a long-ass video. I see the timer on the raw footage. It's at 27 minutes and 14 seconds as I speak before I edit this down. And it ain't going to be much of a difference, because there's just going to be some transitions where I cut a few seconds here and there. So thank you to everybody that stuck with me the whole way through. I just have a lot to say, because you have to remember, George is my best friend. There's natural bias here, but these are my favorites. You know, it's been heavily requested. I got to give you guys what you asked for, especially if it's asked for often. But the point is, I'm fortunate enough to be a part of the testing process from the birth of these profiles. So I have a lot to say, because I've gotten more experience with these fragrances than any other fragrances I've ever smelled ever in my life. So I always have a lot to say. Zaharoff videos are always pretty long for me, because I'm going to be long-winded, because I have so many thoughts, and I omit a lot of things. I'm actually trying to hurry through my thoughts, because really I could have made this a 45-minute, hour-long video if I really wanted to go even deeper into each fragrance, because I could, because I just have so much time with them. Not just these exact bottles, but lab samples and so on. Different renditions and modifications, as, like I said, from their birth. I'm very fortunate. It's a blessing and a true privilege that I take very seriously. And speaking of things I take very seriously, it's what I want to tell you guys, and I really believe that you should sample all of these. I don't encourage you to blind buy any of these bottles just because I feel this way about them. Doesn't mean you will. Fortunately, you can get 3 ml samples down in the link below. If anything speaks to you, read some note breakdowns, see some other reviews, whatever, grab some samples. See what's for you, see what's not for you. Everything's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Be your own judge. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe before you leave, and I'll catch you on the next one. Y'all have a good one.